So while I'm waiting for my rice to cook right here, there you go. I figure I just kind of want to talk about the book that I finished this week, and that is That Was Then, This Is Now by S.E. Hinton, which is a YA fiction published in the 70s. It's a very slim book, and I actually saw it one day sold in one of the book sites that I usually frequent, and I thought, why not just read it right away? And I have just sort of seen the Goodreads page of this book, and have read some of the reviews saying that this book had it has a very punchy ending. It has this ending that is gut-wrenching. It makes you cry. It's just really heartbreaking. And I thought, why not? I'm always up for those kinds of books, always up for a good teary-eyed moment. But yeah, I didn't cry at the end of that book, but I still thought that that book was quite powerful. It has this really lovely ending. Lovely in the sense that it was not a happy ending, but it was a really nicely crafted ending, and it kind of made me think about something, or rather made me muse about something. So before that, this novel is about these two characters. So the main character is named Brian. The story takes place sometimes in the 60s, if I'm not mistaken, or the 50s. I think it takes place in the 60s, somewhere in a town in America. I think it is based on Tulsa, Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, we have this character named Brian. He lives with his mom, and together living with him is another teenage boy named Mark. So the deal with Mark is that his parents kind of shot each other one day. They had a quarrel and they shot each other and they died. And so Mark essentially becomes an orphan, and that's how he ends up living with Brian and Brian's mom. And because of that living arrangement, and since Brian and Mark are like really close in age, they develop this really tight relationship. This really strong friendship. They essentially consider each other brothers. So yeah, that's one side of the story, the important part that you have to know about the story. So what happens is that in this book we see how these brothers just sort of do their activities together. Essentially, these two boys, they are not really like goody two shoes, rule followers, kind of rule abiding kids. They do a lot of kind of naughty things. They are they hustle for money. They commit petty crimes. They steal things. They beat up other boys from other gangs. So they are kind of naughty boys, bad behaving boys. But it's fair to also consider that the environment that they are growing up in is a rough environment that you essentially have to be like really tough to be able to thrive in that environment. So that's part of the background of these boys, and but even with all of those things, the really defining feature of their relationship is that they are really tight, they are really close, very loyal to one another. Until one day, Brian meets a girl, and he dates this girl, Kathy. And soon as he dates this girl, his relationship with Mark just sort of drift apart, and they become, they are not as tight anymore. And eventually, Mark just sort of do his own thing. He starts to get involved in more serious crimes, and he starts to get himself involved in drugs. and that basically just kind of like mark the turning point in the relationship between these two boys, and it culminates into this ending that many people on Goodreads say is really, really powerful, which, you know what, I do agree with. And you know what I really like about this ending is that it kind of makes me think about my own kind of adolescent moment. And yeah, before I say anything, I was not like these boys. I was law abiding. Okay, I was a good kid. I didn't do any of these crazy bad stuff. I wasn't naughty. I read books. But the main thing that just sort of got me thinking is that when you were younger, especially when you were a teenager, you have this thinking that you had answers for everything, you know, around you. Anything that you are not sure of, you feel that there is a clear-cut answer, and at the same time, you feel that you can go through anything. You feel invincible when you're a teenager, and everything ahead of you feels like really well defined, and you don't have to deal with so much baggage when you, I don't know, make a choice or make a decision. And so, you know, thinking about it, when you were a teenager or younger than that, there was this sort of luxury that you have that, you know, that you simply don't have anymore when you are of adult age, maybe 18 years old or, you know, or older. But it's fair to think that once you face once you face this moment in which you feel that any decisions that you're making has some kind of real repercussions to them, and not just the fact that they have real repercussions, but the fact that you have this realization that you have to deal with them. Any choice that you make will eventually get back to you. I feel that that's sort of one of the things that marks the point in your life that kind of says, okay, now you are a grown-up. If you were to imagine your life as a coming-of-age novel. And that is certainly the aspect that this novel highlights, and that is how, you know, what you decide, how you decide on things will eventually make you feel, you know, could probably make you feel crappy about yourself, about your environment, about everything. And any decisions that you make is not going to be something that you could make liberally, and just kind of make it and call it a day, not think about it anymore. It doesn't work like that anymore, and it kind of makes you feel depressed sometimes, but not that kind of depressed, not the clinical kind of depression, but just kind of makes you realize that once you get past that point, you cannot return anymore. So I think that this book is quite lovely in that respect, and this book is also kind of geared towards younger readers, since it's a YA fiction, and I feel that this book it's one of those nice books that pretty much reminds those younger people, like for example, maybe if I have read this book when I was younger, I wouldn't have felt very eager to grow up, It's really amusing to think of the time when you were a kid or when you were a teenager and you thought that once you are a grown up, you can do everything. You have all the power. You can do everything that you want. But yeah, it's, the reality is not like that. But you were a kid, you were a teenager, you were an idiot. So you didn't know anything about that. But yeah, I think that this book demonstrates that really well. And so if you happen to be a teenager watching this video, and if you ever feel like that, you are so enthusiastic about being an adult, read this book. And maybe you won't feel as that excited anymore. Okay, yeah, I was kind of flippant about all of those things, but I still think that the idea that this book brings is a really lovely idea, and I think that most coming of age novels actually do bring this idea as well, in one variation or another. Basically the marking that represents the turning point of a person's life, from childhood, adolescence, and to adulthood. So yeah, that is sort of like my short musing on this book. I realized that it's 11 minutes. So yeah, I'm gonna end this video now. I do think that this is a lovely book, and I would probably read more by S.E. Hinton in the future. So yeah, that's it for now. I'll see you again in a different video. So until then, take care. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.